to stay.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Boards, a podcast dedicated to the actions and interests of skaters beyond skateboarding. My guest today, John Gardner, grew up in New Jersey where he started skating in the early 2000s. Fast forward to 2014, after being sponsored for a few years, John packed up his Honda CR-V and drove out to California to pursue a career in skateboarding. In the following years, he officially got on DC shoes, both as a rider and eventually as their global team manager, as well as on Creature Skateboards, for which he turned pro in 2021. But in 2023, John decided to step away from skateboarding to embark on a new journey he was already heavily invested in, raising awareness around mental health issues. Early 2024, John moved back to the East Coast and settled down in Asheville, North Carolina, where he started a Master's in Social Work program at the Western Carolina University. So here's my conversation with John. I hope you'll enjoy it. Let's see. Let's start with this very first one.
Johnny, what up, brother? What was your favorite trip during Totally Nectar / Bruns videos, and what was the most valuable lesson you learned during those times?
Wow, that's a great first person to start it off with, Jordan Gesko.
Yes.
Amazing. That's my brother right there for a long time.
Yeah, you guys go way back, right?
Way, way back.
From New Jersey?
Yeah, from like around the time I started skating.
Mm-hmm.
So he's referring to one of the first videos that me and my friends put out, Totally Nectar.
Right.
Kyle Dalrymple, Nick Stain, Sloan Powder, Jordan Gesko, Zach Gesko, Paul Overstrom, Chris Sardi, Ryan Burge, and a lot of it was filmed by Kevin Winters. Shout out to Kev. So I'd say the trip that stood out that was most memorable was probably, we all went to San Francisco when I was 18, and yeah, we just had like a gang of us that went out there, and it was my first time in SF. And, you know, SF reminds me so much of the East Coast. I think it's the East Coast of the West Coast.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, that was a really impactful trip for many, many reasons. You know, we had some fun, we got into some trouble. It was just like all around a formative trip.
Experience.
And, yeah, I think I just learned like the importance of skateboard community. You know, like as you get older, I think you appreciate the connections that you have with people that you had when you were young. And I mean, we're off to a good start, man. Like the first question, Jordan Gesko, that's my dog right there. So yeah, just the importance of community, and most memorable trip was San Francisco.
Was that prior to you moving out there? I believe that was a little bit...
Yeah.
Well, you didn't move to San Francisco, actually. It was to LA, right? Or was it San
yeah,
Diego? I don't remember.
Yeah, I lived in LA and I lived in San Diego for a pretty long stretch. And yeah, that was in 2010, I think.
The trip you're talking about?
Yeah, so 15 years ago.
Right, okay. Well, actually kind of linked to this first question, this other question is from Paul Overstrom.
Amazing.
Who made the Maroon video, I believe, with Ryan Burge in 2023. So you guys have also had a more current video put out.
Man, you did your research.
A little bit, I try.
Yeah.
And so, yes, who is a friend from Jersey that you grew up skating with that you wish had their name on a board?
That's an easy one. I mean, it's really two. Like, so one of the biggest influences on me growing up was my friend Dylan Napolitan. And Dylan was like a year younger than me, but he was one of those kids that, like, even though he was younger, like, I looked up to him because he just really embodied just who he was. He was such a creative guy, you know, amazing skateboarder that had the best frontside flip of all time and just looked like he was having so much fun on his board. And I say was because he unfortunately passed. He died of an overdose in 2014, if I remember correctly, the year. I think it was 14, yeah. Okay. And, you know, he was somebody, like, when we were at the park, you know, it was like, oh, he's the dude. You know, he just was progressing so quick. And, yeah, we were all like, oh, yeah, he's the guy. Yeah. And we, like, him and I spent so much time together, and we would talk like we were already professional skateboarders, like interviewing each other for the mag. And then, you know, life happens, and yeah, unfortunately, his life came to an end pretty early. Yeah. So, yeah, that was one of the main reasons why I pursued skateboarding, was to do it for him. And we were actually able to put his name on a board, really.
Oh, wow.
Through a board that I helped design with Creature and his brother, Brett Napolitan.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really like the main goal. Do it
Beautiful
for him.
Tribute, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I'd say, since I said two people, there was a guy at the skate park. His name was also Dylan Aroso. I haven't seen or heard from Dylan in probably over 20 years, maybe a little longer. But he was also somebody at the park where you're like, whoa, like some people just take to it so quick. And I think his life just went in a different direction. I hope he's doing good, but he was just so naturally talented at skateboarding. But he didn't have a desire to pursue it like that.
Okay. All right. I have a few questions from this guy, Chris Ray.
Chris Ray.
Yep.
Yeah. Shout out Chris Ray.
You guys worked together when you were on DC?
Yeah. Traveled the world with Chris Ray.
So yes, his first question is, what advice do you have for someone that wants to pursue a career in the skate industry, but also wants balance in life? It's kind of a hard to answer on the spot, question. I guess, but good question.
No, that's a great question. It's a question that I wish I had the answer to when I was younger, because I think that question is so important. How do you like find balance in the process? And that's something that was really hard for me. And it took a while to figure out that balance. But I would say the best advice I can give anybody to pursue anything, not just skateboarding, is like really protect the love of it. Like make sure you're doing it in the most joyous and authentic way to you. And there's a famous quote that I reflect on quite often. It's by a Indian yogi named Ramakrishna. And he said, when the flower is ready, the bees will come. So I really love that quote specifically to answer this question, because sometimes when you try to pursue something so hard, it can A, burn you out, and B, it can push that thing away even farther.
Yeah.
So the best advice is like really just turn like your flower essence up to 10. That's such a silly way of saying it, but like, in relation to that quote, if it's meant to be for you, it will be. And all you got to do is just focus on the craft.
Yeah.
Like really focus on your craft and, find something that is unique to you, and you don't even have to try and be someone who you're not, but like, yeah, just really focus on that fun and the love of skateboarding. Because if you don't, you do it for the wrong reasons and you lose that love and you can get burned out real quick.
Yeah.
And I experienced that at one point. So it's a hard lesson to learn, to lose the love for something you love.
How were you able to bring that love back somewhat? Like, were you able to in the end? Because I know you've retired from pro skating not too long ago, and I know you're still skating actively, just not as a pro, I guess. But and we'll get to like your relationship with skating nowadays. But yeah, were you able to just find this love for skating again after losing it for a bit?
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I stepped away from it. I had come to a place where I really loved skateboarding again, even in the last like couple of years of skateboarding professionally. But yeah, to find the love again, you just got to go back to your roots, like spend time with people that you grew up with, Jordan, Paul, Zach, Jordan's brother, like just going and skating with people who are just doing it for fun, like strictly for fun, spending time around people who are like really embodying the purity of skateboarding.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find the love again, but I think it's harder to take yourself off of like a mouse wheel. Is that what it's called? Mouse wheel?
Yeah.
I think it's harder to take yourself off the wheel than it is to find the love, because it's right there. Like it's not far. But, to deconstruct habits that made you burn out, I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Chris also asked, what is the best advice anyone has ever given you?
Ever? Don't forget to breathe.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget to breathe. And I can't even tell you who told me that. Probably so many people, but it's But do you remember the first time it really hit you, like the importance of it? I probably just when I first started to practice like a meditation and a breathing practice. Because I didn't, obviously we all breathe. It just happens without us even thinking about it. And we don't even realize sometimes when we're not breathing. And then you're exhausted and you're like, oh man, I'm like holding my breath. or I'm breathing so heavy, or I'm breathing super shallow. So yeah, I couldn't even tell you who told me that, but that always like rings true in my head. Like, don't forget to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you're connected with that, I think it makes everything you're doing a lot easier.
And his last question is, what is the best purchase you've ever made under $100?
Chris is the best. I'm going to answer your question, then I'm going to tell a quick story about Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
Best purchase under $100. I'm like looking around, like, what do I see? It sounds so funny, but a skateboard.
Yeah, okay.
At the time, the first skateboard I bought was under $100. They're definitely over $100 now.
Yeah, a complete, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a pretty easy answer. But yeah, I would, $100, that's a tough one. I'm kind of stumped. I will honestly say I'm a little bit stumped. I'd have to give that one
a little bit of thought. Yeah.
Yeah, because I automatically gravitate towards like the basic necessities of life. You know, like socks, for instance. Oh my God. That's like the best investment under $100.
Yeah.
You get a fresh pair of socks. That's like night and day.
For sure.
Especially when you're traveling. So I'm going to go with socks. I'm going to say socks. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, what's the story with Chris you wanted to share?
Yeah, so I love Chris's questions, and I love Chris as a human being. He's so great. So when we were on trips, it would either be like me driving or Chris driving, or a combination of both. And whenever I was in the car with Chris, you know, and we'd have a bunch of people there, he would just like turn off the radio or shut off the music and be like, let's talk. Like, let's talk about something. What do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah.
Everyone would laugh and some people would groan, but I always loved Chris's invitation to just like, let's talk.
Let's connect
what do you guys
with
want
one
to talk
another.
about? Yeah, let's not just like drown out the sounds with music, which can be super fun. I love that too.
Sure, yeah.
But like, yeah, he always challenge us to talk, and I love and appreciate Chris for that so much.
Yeah, I'm sure it must not have been the most popular move in the van at the time.
I loved it. Yeah, it wasn't the most popular, but I loved it.
All right. This one is from Zach Gesko. Let's see. He said, "What's up, Johnny? I know you have a lot of great moments from the RV trips from when we were younger, but what do you think was the most memorable?"
Oh, man. Yeah, so Zach, shout out to Zach Gesko. Probably best style in the game. And dear friend of mine, Jordan's brother.
Right.
So he's referring to, we went on these RV trips when I was younger. My mom had an RV and just had the idea to take me and my friends to like different states close to New Jersey and New York. And those were probably the first skateboard trips that I ever went on. And it was so cool because my mom was just such a wonderful woman, and she was just down to drive a bunch of skate rats around to different spots.
Yeah.
But probably the most memorable was we went to Canada. We drove up to Montreal. And that was my first time, I think, out of the States and first time in Canada. And it was like seeing like skate mecca. You know, we went to the we went to the Olympic Stadium, and I think we spent like 2 whole days there. And there were just spots everywhere. Like, and you didn't get kicked out. It was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So we went to the Big O, and we were just skating there. We had a big crew, and we skated with a couple of local guys. Mark Tisson was one guy that came through, and he's just like Big O legend. Big O legend. Anybody in Montreal knows Mark Tisson. I hope I'm saying his name correct. I think that's how you say it. But anyway, he was super cool to us. We were just like some young skate rack kids, like looking for weed. and he was super cool. Like, you know, we were trying to find some weed, and we're like, Mark, like, can you help us out? And he's like, yeah, come here tomorrow at this time. This was before like smartphones and all that, and Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think we showed up the next day, and it was pouring rain. And we're like, he's never gonna show up. Like, pouring rain. We're at the O, and sure enough, right on time, showed up, and we got blessed. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, shout out Mark Tisson, shout out Big O in Montreal.
Okay, let's do this one.
John, how's it going? It's Alex Pennacchia. As a filmmaker, I'm always intrigued to hear the answer to this question. But to you, what's the most important piece to a skate video part? Is it the music choice, trick selection, style, or is it something else?
Oh, yeah. Amazing. I love Alex. I just met Alex pretty recently. Him and I got connected through a mutual friend. I've been doing these mental health pop-up events.
Right. Yes.
At skate parks, and I've been always wanting to document them. And we did one in Chicago a couple months ago, right before Bordeaux. And Alex was gracious with his time, was able to have him come on and film the whole day. And he's master lensman for sure. Like amazing, amazing filmer, and just great guy. Really great guy. Cares about skateboarding and focuses on the art, which is, indicative of his question, which is a great question and a hard one to answer. I think it really depends on the person because they're all really important aspects. I mean, the song, trick selection, spots, and style. Like, and when they all come together, it's like the Mona Lisa. Yeah. I would say for me, it's like, I think I heard Thomas Taylor say this or Grant Taylor say this in like an interview, but it's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that is super important in any video part. It's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, because like at the end of the day, that's what really gets me excited about skateboarding. It's an extension of yourself. And like, it sounds so maybe silly to say, but like you're the paintbrush, and it's like your tricks are like the paint on the canvas.
Right, exactly.
And so, I mean, that's important. I think that's the most important for me. But then if you take good trick selection and style and put it to some garbage music, like, I mean, the tricks are still good, but sometimes it's like hard to watch. So I would say the music and the editing are sometimes just as important, but not as important as how you're doing what you're doing.
No, absolutely. Is there a part of yours that you're maybe the most proud of looking back now? And were you able every time to collaborate with the filmer or whoever was, doing the video or the project and talk with them about the music selection and maybe curate the tricks or the order in which they appeared and everything? Like, were you able to have some control over all that?
Yeah, control can be like such a harsh word sometimes. And, obviously, like you want it to look how you want it to look. But I think what's more important is like the collaboration aspect of skate filmmaking. And fortunately, I've had such amazing connections with people I've worked on video parts with. The first being my good friend Kevin Winters, who made 2 like independent skateboard films, Bruns and Bruns 2, which were just tri-state area people, just all of my friends. And I would say I'm most proud of those. Those were like before anything happened with skating, before I ever got paid for skateboarding. I'm most proud of those because like I was just strictly like fun and like challenging ourselves, and there's nothing like being around your closest friends.
Sure.
I don't want that to take away from like the other projects I put out with companies or sponsors, but I mean every single person in the skate industry can relate. There's nothing like skating with your closest friends.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's the best. Even when there's no deadline, there's no timeline. I mean, that you can really tap into your creativity there. And specifically those 2 videos, Bruns and Bruns 2, Kevin Winters was like a spot encyclopedia for New Jersey. And Philadelphia and even parts of New York too. I just remember he would send out mass text to a bunch of close friends and just see who's available to skate that day. And, he worked a really gnarly job in Newark. He worked I think he manned this oil refinery. I can't remember his exact job there, but he would go in and like at like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., and then get out at like, I don't know, 12. Okay. And then he would either search for spots or he would pick us up and go bring us to spots, like the best spots. And then he'd film until like midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning. Wow. And then he'd go to sleep for a couple hours and do it all over again.
Yeah, crazy. Wow.
Yeah, he's
That's
a champion.
dedication right there, yeah.
Oh, he had the most dedication. And he filmed VX, and he was, even still to this day, like such a good VX filmer. Like that is an art form in and of itself, to really be able to like film well and adjust as you're skating, like adjust the camera, because you have to in order for it to look good.
Yeah.
So I would say he's in my Hall of Fame of VX filmers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of New Jersey, well, this guy's not from New Jersey, but it's a New Jersey-based question. This one is from Evan Smith. He said, ask John about his local sandwich shop in New Jersey, the place he and his dad took the DC team that one time.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Kev. He's talking about Chiaffi's. It's a classic Italian joint. Right down the street from my dad's house. Been going there since I was a little kid. Yeah, they have incredible pizza, man. And it's just like such a classic place. You walk in, I mean, it's owned by the same people that started it. And, you walk in and people, what can I get you? What do you want?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's just like this warm like...
atmosphere.
Yeah, just such a warm atmosphere. And, yeah, it's really classic New Jersey. So he's talking about Chiaffi's. We all went there. And, you walk in and like when I go with my dad, like he knows all the guys that work there. I only know a few of them, but like when you go in, like my dad, they love my dad. So many people love my dad. He's such a great guy, and specifically in the town that he lives in, he just knows a lot of the people who work at the places that he goes. And so when we showed up, it was like we had a big squad, and they were like, "Hey, what's up? What do you want?" And yeah, it was a memorable experience. It sounds like made an impression on Evan.
All right, let's see.
Hi, John. Jill Wijangco here from Max's Mission. When you were at our event in October, you spoke about our loved ones leaving us seeds after their passing, and that our tears have watered those seeds since they left us. You then asked what had grown from those seeds from their loss. Water is essential for seeds to grow, but so is sunshine. I'm happy to say that the Skate Talk event and having you embedded in our community for a day provided much needed sunshine to help the seeds from our loss grow into something even more meaningful, loving, and purpose-filled than we could have imagined. My question for you is this. What did you see grow from the seeds that were left by Max through the Skate Talk event that you were such a huge part of? How did it impact you, and what impact did you see in our community? Thank you, John.
Oh, what a great question. And so eloquently said by a really great woman. Her name is Jill Wijangco. Her and I got connected last year through the Ben Ramers Foundation. Shout out to Susie Crome for making that connection. She unfortunately lost her son to suicide a couple years ago, Max Wijangco, who was just shining light in their community. And she started a foundation in his name, Max's Mission. And her and I teamed up to do a mental health event in Chicago, the one that I was speaking about with Alex. Right. And we just had such an amazing turnout, and it was really, really heartfelt. And the question that she's speaking about is, it was actually presented to me years ago by Evan Smith. So it's funny that Evan's question was before this one. It's a relatively long story, so I'll get to the question shortly. But when Preston Mygetter died, Peastone, I remember seeing Evan Smith shortly after that. And, we were just talking about stories of Peastone and just how great of a human being he was and is. And it was Evan that said to me, when people are alive, they plant seeds in you. Seeds of knowledge, seeds of wisdom, seeds of experience. And sometimes there are many seeds that just lay dormant. And if it's ever the unfortunate circumstance that they pass and, we are grieving their loss, the tears that we shed for them touch those dormant seeds, and those seeds germinate and they grow into a plant. And that always stuck with me. So shout out to Evan for sharing that with me years ago. And thank you, Jill, for expanding on it. Because you do need sunshine to grow. You do need sunshine for those seeds to fully embody what they're meant to be. And I can say wholeheartedly that going to another community that's been affected by a death of suicide and just connecting with the people who are still grieving the loss of that death, it's an incredible honor just to be able to connect, even if under those terrible circumstances. But it just really bridges the gap of just the human kinship that we all share. Like we're all very different, and I think celebrating our differences is important, but I don't think it's as important as celebrating what we share together, our humanness. And it's often forgotten in focusing on our differences. So, I came to the event in Chicago just with my own experience of losses by suicide. And, experience of my own suicidal ideation years ago and how that affected my community back home in New Jersey and New York and Philadelphia. It has a really challenging ripple effect.
Yeah.
And then to go into another community and see like the same challenges from this ripple effect. You know, we're all so similar, and it's just a great honor to be able to connect with people. That's just what I hope to continue to do as life goes on, is just deepen connections with people, true meaningful connections, on all planes of human existence, like happiness, joy, and despair, and, you know, everything that encompasses those. So I hope that answers her question.
Yeah,
But,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a tragedy for her son. But
Yeah, it's an unfortunate tragedy that is unfortunately all too common nowadays.
Yeah.
Suicide rates are extremely high, and rates of anxiety and depression are extremely high. And the definitive reasons as to why that is not always clear, but I do believe that a lot of it has to do with isolation.
Yeah.
In its various forms. Isolation is a killer to the mind.
Yeah, silent killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. This one is from, so I'm going to butcher his name. I'm very sorry. Elias Parise? Is that how you say his name?
Elias Parise.
Parise?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Elias. So he said, you got to ask John about his bus and the story of him filling it up with diesel for the first time. I love that story.
Oh, my God. Thank you, Elias.
I think I had heard about you having a bus for a while, but
Yeah,
you don't
that's a
have it
funny
anymore,
story.
right?
I still have it, and it's a much longer story that I'll spare you the details on, but I'm currently fighting with the insurance company to, you know, get it covered, because here in Asheville we had a big flood.
Yes.
And my school bus was unfortunately destroyed in the flood.
Right, yeah.
And so, yeah, c'est la vie. I'm not the only one fighting with insurance companies to recoup losses, but fond memories in that bus. A fond memory was the first time I filled it up with diesel. Last question. I'll backtrack a little bit, because I had purchased this bus sight unseen from GoDaddy.com's corporate headquarters. They were offloading their fleet of vehicles, and just a friend of a friend knew that I wanted a bus and knew the people that worked there. So I got this bus for relatively cheap, and it's a 40-foot Bluebird All-American diesel bus, and it's a giant vehicle. I had never driven anything quite like that in my life. And so it was a huge learning curve when I showed up in Rapid City, Iowa, just to buy this bus.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I get to the shop, and the guy is like giving me the rundown on how to drive it. And it's got air brakes. It's a much different vehicle. It's got air brakes. It's a huge 8.3 liter Cummins turbo diesel engine. So it's like, it's not your average vehicle. And so guy at the shop is just like, good luck, keep it on the road, don't crash.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell me about filling it up with diesel. I knew it needed diesel. That was an obvious one.
Yeah.
And the diesel fill up with a vehicle that big is so much different than pulling into your gas station. You got to go through the truck
lane,
through the truck pull in, the truck lane.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's kind of a different system. Like, it depends on the place where you're going to fill up, but some of the nozzles are they're supercharged. Like, the rate of flow that comes out of the diesel nozzle is sometimes like really, really fast.
Okay.
And it's because you have these huge tanks to fill up diesel, so you know, more volume. You need more like
speed
or
more
volume and
power.
Speed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Thank you. So I didn't know that some tanks are not equipped to handle that speed and volume. And I have my bus had 100-gallon tank. So it's like filling up 100 gallons at a time takes a while. And so I had just come from San Francisco. I was filming with Paul Overstrom for the Maroon video, and I got hurt. I cut my finger, sliced it clean open, broke my finger. And so I was driving this bus with like an open wound and like a splint. And so I'm here, I'm at the gas station putting the fucking nozzle in the tank, and it couldn't handle the volume, so it sprays back at you.
Oh, no way. Wow. Oh shit.
And this was like late March, early April of 2023, and it was cold. fucking really cold in Iowa. I'm outside, like, trying to fill up, and this just diesel just sprays all over me, gets all up in my cut, and that wasn't the last time that happened, too. Like, it took a few times for me to actually figure out that, I need to, like, actually hold the nozzle and go really slow.
Okay, I see, yeah.
So, yeah, Elias was privy to that story. Because I drove the bus from Iowa to New Mexico, and me and Elias met up in New Mexico and used the bus to film a commercial for Noah Clothing. And,
yes.
Yeah, that was a whole trip in and of itself. I broke down in New Mexico. The bus broke down. I had to get it fixed. But good memories. Shout out to Elias.
Yeah. My God, that could have been so dangerous, like spraying yourself with the gasoline and everything.
Yeah, it was a humbling experience. And I had a couple days on the road. I was sleeping in the bus, and you can't just like take a shower. I didn't have a shower in the bus. So I just had to get cleaned as best I could and just like keep charging down the road. But yeah, it was
humbling experience, like you said.
Humbling to be covered in diesel.
Live and learn.
That's right.
All right, let's do this one.
Yo, John. Ace here. All right, so tell them about Mushroom Rock and maybe one of the stories that happened to you while being there.
Ace, man.
Ace
See,
Pelka?
This is a tricky one. Yeah, Ace, man. Ace is, for those of you that know Ace Pelka, amazing human being, amazing skateboarder. We were roommates for about a year in Long Beach. And, this is a tricky one to answer because he's kind of put me on the spot a little bit. This is one of my favorite places in the world to go to. And so I'm going to tread lightly because I'm not going to share the location.
Okay.
It's in Arizona, and it's a pretty magical place. It's hard to get to, I'll say that. It's in the mountains. It's really, really hard to get to, primarily because it's in a private community. It's in a gated community. So you have to hop a fence and do some kind of illegal maneuvering to get in to the community in general. And so, like any skateboarder who's hopped a fence before, like a fence isn't going to stop you from getting to a good spot.
Right.
So years and years ago, a friend of mine brought me in there, and it's such an incredible place. So you have to walk through this private neighborhood once you hop the fence, and then you have to trek to, it's an old house, and they call it the Spring House.
Okay. It's
a super old building. It's one of the oldest buildings in that area, and there's an aquifer that runs through the building. Aquifer is like fresh water supply under the ground. And so this fresh water supply under the ground pops out through this house. So you go into this house, and you can there's a river that runs through the house, and you can just dip your cup, and you got like fresh, clean water,
Wow.
And then depending on the season, you walk down the path even further, and there's blackberries everywhere. You just pick and eat blackberries while you're walking down the path. You have to traverse a little bit and like take a couple of cutty turns, and then it opens up into this little private spring. It's like a private little oasis.
Okay.
And to the right is this big rock called Mushroom Rock. And it looks like it's called Mushroom Rock because it looks like a mushroom. It's just a giant mushroom dome. And as the locals say, it's a powerful place for meditation. They call it a vortex. I don't entirely know what that means. I think it's a place where there's energy is very strong, and you feel it. Yeah. Without divulging too much of my personal experience with that, I can say definitively that every time I've gone there, it's a joyous experience. And you sit on that rock, and it's like you feel peace. Maybe it's psychosomatic. Maybe I'm crazy, but I love going there. It's one of my favorite places.
Interesting.
Mushroom Rock.
Yeah. How did you first hear about this place?
It was a friend of a friend, skater.
Okay.
He's like, yo.
Just took you there?
Yeah, he's like, I got a place. And yeah, we went in there, and it was super cool. Yeah. Yeah, I can't share too much because it's a really private place.
Of course, you want to keep it to yourself, I understand.
So,
yeah, for sure.
It's like a skate spot, like some spots you just don't want to blow out.
Sure.
You just got to keep them pure.
Okay, this next one is from Darren Navarette.
Oh, amazing.
Creature. So he said, true or false, is there a skateboarding maneuver called the saber-tooth tiger?
Oh man, he's going to test my memory. True? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I don't know, yeah.
I really wish I knew what he was talking about, because there's been so many times where I've spent countless hours skating with Darren, and like names of tricks will just blend into each other. And I'm sure at one point in time we dubbed the trick the saber-toothed tiger. But my memory escapes me. But yeah, true. I'm gonna go with true.
Okay, let's go with true. Cool.
Shout out to Navs.
This one is from Shintaro Hongo.
Oh man.
He said, I want to hear you playing native flute. Could you play a little bit for me, please?
Shintaro, of course.
Do you have one nearby? Yeah?
Yeah. I got a whole flute collection here. Give me 1 sec.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
This flute has a story, so I'll tell you a brief story about it before I play a little bit. Yeah, this flute, I actually got the bamboo from Jordan and Zach Gesko's house years and years ago. And I used to make flutes. I still do, but not as much anymore. That's a whole nother story. But this particular piece of bamboo I brought to a pretty famous flute maker in Arizona named Pat Haran. He no longer makes flutes. You cannot find this man. He's just disappeared from the face of the earth. But he was an incredible, incredible flute maker. And I happened to spend some time with him, and him and I made this flute together. So I'll play you a little bit. It's one of my favorite flutes to play.
Awesome.
Shout out to Shintaro Hongo.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that.
Shouts to Shintaro and Masaki, Japan.
Yeah. Talented people, for sure.
Oh, amazing. Hongo bros.
This one is from Felipe Amigo.
Oh, man, he went deep.
Yes. Yeah. So from what I understood, this is Ace's brother-in-law.
This is Ace's brother-in-law, yeah.
And he told me you guys lived together for a little bit.
Yes.
And so Felipe asked, I would like to ask John about his alter ego, Joe Nicchio, this dude that has been working on the trades for over 30 years, and he can build whatever he wants. I worked with him in his Asheville's house, and we have many fun stories.
Yeah, so he's talking about this guy named Joe Nicchio. Okay?
Okay, sorry.
This guy, he's been in the trades for a long, long time. I mean, he can drywall. He can do flooring, he can do electric, he can do plumbing. He's got every skill under the sun.
Covered.
So yeah, this is my alter ego, New Jersey, stand up. They say you can take the boy out of New Jersey, but you can't take the New Jersey out of the boy. And that's very true for me and my alter ego, Jonicio, which originated because, so Felipe and I were working on my house, which is where I'm at right now. And we did a whole lot of work and shared a whole lot of memories together. And yeah, we were just goofing around. And I think Johnny, I don't know, somehow it originated from us just being silly one day working on probably drywall or floor. And the alter ego, Jonicio, came out. So that's where it originates. Damn, okay. Shout out to Felipe. That's amazing that you got a question from Felipe. This human being, he's one of my favorites. And I met him through Ace Pelka. Amazing human being, such a hard worker, and so talented at building. Really has taught me so much about carpentry and framing and drywall and just everything under the sun. So sick. Shout out to Felipe.
Yeah, shout out. Thank you, Felipe, for the question. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. But
no doubt. Jonicio.
This next guy is, I'm going to butcher his name. I'm so sorry for everybody who shared these questions. Austin Leleu.
You actually said it correct. Oof, that's actually how you say
God.
it.
I got one
it's
right.
Leleu.
Leleu, yeah. Well, in French, I would say Leleu.
He's French. Yeah.
Oh, he is?
So
no way.
He's French, yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
You said it closer than anyone has ever said it. Everyone here calls him Austin Leleu, but the way that you just said it is the correct pronunciation.
Okay, Austin Leleu. Okay.
There you go.
So he asked a couple of things. He said, can you rap in other fake languages?
Oh my God, Austin, you son of a bitch.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, man. Tough. You son of a bitch.
You don't have to rap, but just tell the story.
I'm not going to, no, because I don't want to offend anybody. I can emulate accents and speak gibberish and make it sound like I can speak the accent.
Yeah.
you know, that skill is privy only to the closest friends. So I'm going to leave it at that. Austin is correct. I can do that. But for sake of not number one, embarrassing myself, and number two, offending anybody, I'm going to keep that one just to the close circle.
Understood. But he told me like that it happened in one instance with Thiago Lemos or something, and you were rapping in like fake French basically or something like that, and Thiago thought you were actually rapping in French.
Yeah, I know a few words in French. Mon français très petit. Like it's I know like only a couple things to get by, and so I was infusing like some French words into just like fake French gibberish, and we were in the car. It was me, Austin, and Thiago in the back. And, you know, we just put on a beat. We were like in the cypher just freestyle rapping. And I just like went into some like fake French gibberish rap. And Tiago's like leaning into his seat. And he's like, at the end, he's like, doggy, like, I didn't know you could speak French. I was like, no, wow. I can't. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll show you, Quentin.
Yeah. I hope so. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, we'll spend some more time together. You can actually teach me how to speak French.
Yeah, I'd love that,
your language.
For sure. Okay, I have a couple other ones from Austin. He said, I heard you were going to create a sauce company called Stikujitsu. I hope I'm saying this right. Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, well, it's Austin would know because he's the co-founder of
apparently.
Stikujitsu. Yeah, this is our, I'm not going to say fake hot sauce company because it just hasn't happened yet.
Future hot sauce company.
Yeah, this originated, Austin and I were on the road together filming for OJ Wheels. We were filming a Cruising Across America video.
Right, yeah, that was a cool video. Yeah, I remember.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a really fun trip. And Austin helped me film the intro and over half of the filming. Elias helped me with the second half. So shout out to Austin, shout out to Elias, shout out to OJ for that. During that trip though, you know how it be with your closest friends. Like you just get silly and you start to say stupid shit. And that was definitely the case. We were on the road and I think we were just like speaking gibberish. And one of us, I think it might have been him or me, we said stikujitsu. Like it's not a word. It's just a silly word that we made up. And both of us just burst out laughing and we couldn't stop saying this word. And then so we expanded upon it. We're like, let's make a hot sauce company, Stikujitsu. So, yeah, one of these days you'll see it at your local grocery store, Stikujitsu hot sauce.
Yeah. For your next endeavor after mental health.
Follow it up. Yeah, we'll follow it up with another hot sauce called Jitsu Stiku sauce.
Different flavor.
Yeah, it'll be a different flavor. Keeps life interesting.
Last one from Austin is: have you joined the Mile High Club?
Austin, you son of a bitch.
Throwing you under the bus again?
Yeah, he's revealing all my world secrets. You know, this is another one I'm not gonna share the intimate details of.
No
but
worries.
I will say he's correct. I somehow joined the Mile High Club on a skateboard trip once. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, this one is from Mike Heikkila.
Yep.
Let's see, he said, John, what's the story about a ticket agent at an airport in France that wanted you to fly her to California after you paid to check everyone's bags?
That's a great story that I'm more than happy to share. Yeah, this is a really funny one. This one happened in France, actually.
Yeah.
This happened in Bordeaux.
Okay.
And,
what year was that? Was that a long time ago?
This was 2019. I had just gotten hired as the DC team manager, and we had been planning this big 3-week European tour. And so it was a lot of work, just like planning. Shout out to Jimmy Astleford, shout out to Manaud in Europe. And, yeah, shout out to Manaud. Yeah, and so it was a big undertaking. We had a huge crew, 13 people. Everyone brought big bags, and that can be trouble sometimes when you're traveling and trying to check in at the airport, which is what we were trying to do. We were flying from Bordeaux to Luxembourg, and when we originally booked our tickets and prepaid for our bags, there was a limit on baggage size and baggage weight.
Right.
Literally every single person was over.
Oh, shit.
And it's no fault of their own. That was just like the way the cookie crumbled that day. And the cookie definitely crumbled. We were like late for our flight, and 13 people. We had to get these bags in. Huge line. And so I had the DC card, and we always pay for everyone's flights and bags and food on trips, hotels and all that. And so just to make things quicker, I just stepped up to the plate and just was going back and forth to the different kiosks to like pay for each bag.
Yeah.
And I think it totaled something like 1,500 euros just for bags.
Wow.
So
damn.
it was a huge expense. And the two people at the ticketing counter were like surprised. They were like looking at me like I was some baller.
Yeah.
Oh, so nice of you to pay for your friend's bags.
Yeah. Like,
And
who are you?
I didn't have time to really explain the situation, so I was like, I don't know what I said. I think I was like, yeah, I just got it like that. And we were joking. We were just like having some back and forth, and I was like, yeah, like I'll fly you both out to California. Like I'll leave some tickets for you at the counter. Just joking. I thought it was a very obvious joke.
Yeah.
And so we get the bags in, we get to our flight, and we're on the tarmac. We're waiting for the flight. And this one, the lady at the ticketing counter, I see her like kind of like jogging up to me. And I was like, oh shit, like something wrong.
Yeah.
And she comes up to me and she goes, hey, I just wanted to make sure, like, were you serious about giving us tickets to California? And I felt so bad I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, no, I was just joking. I'm so sorry. And she was real sweet. She's
okay,
like, yeah,
good.
we just wanted to make sure. But yeah,
You
she
just
like
crushed
came.
her dreams, and yeah.
Maybe like, sorry.
That's
But
amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
it made for a good story. And Mike was right behind me the whole time, so he was
Just laughing.
yeah. We had a really good trip that trip, and yeah, just a short little tangent. When we flew into Luxembourg, we flew from Bordeaux to Luxembourg that trip, and we were supposed to have a 13 or 15 passenger van to drive everybody, and it was supposed to be a manual driving van. I don't know how to drive stick, and I'm ashamed to admit that. I want to learn how to drive stick.
No. I mean, yeah.
But I was
you're
gonna
living in the
learn.
States, it's normal, yeah.
I was going to learn on that trip because I was the driver for the trip.
Yeah.
And it was a very bad plan, but that was my plan. And we get there and they have no vans. And we're like, oh shit, what are we going to do? All they had was 2 automatic Sportster BMWs.
Okay.
So we had 2 BMW Sportsters that were automatic, and we somehow piled all these bags in, and I think we rented a minivan just for bags. And Jack Thompson drove the minivan. Me and Chris Ray drove these BMWs, super fast Sportster BMWs from Luxembourg to Brussels, Belgium. That was fun.
Yeah.
They were
wow,
quick.
yeah.
We were living large.
Okay. This one is from Jake Baldini.
Shout out Jake.
He said, ask John how many times he drained the White House pool and about doing the corner transfer hand plant on the tree. It was the craziest thing I've seen on a skateboard. He had tons of tricks there, and that pool was like 10 feet tall and completely kinked. To me, it seemed impossible to skate.
Yeah, shout out Jake. Jake was with me both times that I tried to do a hand plant through the corner.
Yeah, I remember seeing
this pool.
I don't remember what part that was in, but I remember seeing the clip. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was in the Creature Gangrene video.
That's right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that pool is just an incredible pool that was in the town, like close to the town I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were pretty much caretakers of this pool for like 10 years. And I would always hype it up and just rent a pool pump from Home Depot. And it would take days to empty this pool. It's a huge Olympic-sized pool. And but it was so fun to skate. I had all these ideas before we would drain it and pretty much drain the pool to try like a new trick. And on this particular occasion, the season before, a tree had fallen into the pool, but it was still rooted in the ground and it was really strong and you could hang on it. So I looked at it for like, I don't know, months, and I was like, man, it'd be so cool, like somehow go over it through the corner. I thought it would be possible to like Tarzan swing frontside invert over it into the corner, and didn't realize how hard that would actually be. So I think it was, let's see, it was the winter of 2020 or 2021, either or, and we drained this pool, and it takes 3 hours plus to drain the pool when it just has like a little water in the bottom.
Okay.
It had a lot of water in the top, so it took a long time to drain it the first time, and it's not easy. I mean, you got to like get in there with buckets and like trash cans and wait for it to dry. Everyone who's drained a pool knows it's a lot of work, and then you can skate it. So on this particular day, I tried to do it for like 3 hours and nothing. So
were you getting close or?
I gotten close a couple times, but yeah, my body just like didn't have any energy left. And so I had to wait like a whole another 6 months to come around for the weather to be nice again. And also just to have time to go out there to do it. I was living in California at the time.
Right.
So yeah, the next go around, you drain it another 3.5 hours to drain it. This time it was just me, Mike Heikkila, and Jake. I think there was one other person there. But we drained it 3.5 hours, and then it took me 3 hours again to like do it. And I wasn't really getting very close. I was getting 4 wheels down and then just slipping out. And yeah, I think one of the tries I just blacked out and hoisted myself over and let go of the tree, and then it worked. And that may be one of the best feeling tricks I've ever done.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
There's just so much work to get to the land. And Jake is an incredible filmer. Mike is an incredible photographer. And that photo was run in Thrasher, which was a great honor. And just kind of memorializes this spot that me and my friends have spent countless hours and days at. Yeah.
Getting ready for the trick, and incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they say the journey's better than the destination. It's a cliche saying, but it is really true. I mean, yeah, getting to the destination is as exciting.
Okay, this next one is from Rhino, Chris Rooney.
Yeah, shout out Rhino. Rhino.
Let's see, he said, ask John how hard or easy of a decision it was to walk away from professional skateboarding and go back to school, and what he is studying in High Splash for the future.
Yeah, shout out to Rhino. I love Rhino so much. He's such an integral, important figure in skateboarding, and anyone that's spent time with him knows that. And I had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with Rhino, and I really love and care for him deeply, and just the fact that that's his question means a lot to me, because it was really hard to step away for a multitude of reasons. But I would say, the hardest is like you work for years and years and years to get to a place, and then it's tied into how you make a living, and tied into community, and tied into so much fun and travel and memories. And then to have a very clear, intuitive feeling that this wasn't the path I needed to continue to walk down, it was incredibly hard, because I didn't know what that would mean to leave this thing that I spent my whole life to achieve. Yeah. And I'm not really a half in, half out kind of guy. My heart wasn't fully in it at that point. And it was kind of obvious to me that, there was another pathway that I needed to take. And so, like anything, skateboarding's taught me everything. And one thing I've taken away from skateboarding that I've taken in this next chapter of my life is sometimes you just got to jump right in. The first try is the hardest, because you just got to jump right in. Anyone that's ever skated a handrail knows it's like jumping on the handrail is the hardest part the first time. But then once you do it, it's like, okay, now you can like figure it out.
Yeah.
So I kind of just went for it right away and quit all my sponsors and left behind financial security to pursue a career in the mental health field. And at the time, I didn't even know what that looked like. I just knew that I was passionate about this thing and knew that it was a much needed field to contribute to, and felt that maybe I had something to contribute to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started looking into schools and different career paths, and landed on licensed clinical social work. And social work is a very broad field. It encompasses becoming a licensed therapist. It encompasses policy work. It encompasses macro community social work, and so many other things. I mean, it's a really great field to go into. And I wasn't sure that I would even be able to get into it. I have an undergrad degree that has nothing to do with mental health, and so I was unsure if I would even qualify, but my GPA was really good, and I got some really generous letters of recommendation to get into school. And shout out to Chris Ray and Martin Fobes. Like, one of the main reasons I got into school was a film that we made with DC Shoes, and Andrew Huberman called This Too Shall Pass.
Of course.
Yeah, and that was a big reason I think that they accepted me into the program. And going back to school, I'm currently in my second semester of graduate school, and it's been really hard. It's been really, really challenging, but I feel like I'm learning so much and getting a really good foundation for one day becoming a licensed therapist. It'll be a few years until I'm able to, but I'm excited. It's a great journey so far. Yeah, shout out to Rhino for the question. Much appreciated.
Well, actually, you just mentioned this guy who asked the next question, Martin Fobes, right? Is that how you say his name?
Martin Fobes, yep.
He said, do you enjoy skateboarding more now that you're out of the skate industry?
Yes. Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes, because I feel like I'm just only skating when I really want to. And, that's not to say that when I was doing it professionally, I was having a lot of fun. I was. But I think it's something different when you're not like tied to it in a way that's like you need to make money. You need to do this so that you can make money. I think there's an element of that can be imbalancing to having fun because it's tied to so many other things. And in skateboarding, it's when you're trying to trick, it's, take the money out of it. Like it can be tied to like self-worth. It can be tied to like, you want to impress, you want to like be good and gain more sponsors or just do your job when you're on a trip.
Yeah.
It can be a lot of pressure when a company flies you across the world and, you don't get any clips. It's extremely disheartening and
I can imagine.
Can be devastating. So that wasn't the state that I lived in all the time, but, now skateboarding has more or less, for lack of a better way of saying it, taken a back seat. And I kind of like it back there. I like that it's just there. It's there patiently waiting for me whenever I want to hop on my skateboard. And I'm having a lot of fun. I'm learning tricks again. I feel like I plateaued and was not really learning as much as I was doing. And so now it feels nice to have that again. And just be a beginner.
Pressure free.
Yeah. I got to say though, like I would love to hear from other professional skateboarders about how they balance it, because I feel like it's not a conversation that we have very often in the skateboard community. At least I didn't. Of like, how do you still maintain your love and authenticity and fun while continuing to progress and do your job? Because at the end of the day, like it's your job and you have contracts that, you're obligated to do your job. And I wanted to do my job really well when I was under contract with certain companies. So I'd be so curious to pose this question to other professional skateboarders and see like, how do they do it? How do you maintain the love and authenticity?
Yeah, especially for a very long time. Like, for example, I'm thinking of Andrew Reynolds or people like that, who are still, in the game, I guess, or just super productive pros and
he would be a great person to talk to.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I've always viewed Andrew Reynolds as someone who's never compromised his love and authenticity. I don't know him personally, but anytime I've seen him outside looking in, like it gives me the same feeling of watching him when I was younger as it does now, because it feels just like fresh and new and fun. So I would love to talk to him about that one day and see what he has to say.
Yeah. Okay. This next one is from Jimmy Astleford.
Jimbo.
Another DC former colleague, and I think you guys go way, way back.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. So it's not much of a question. It's more something maybe you can develop on. He said, we offered John a signature colorway on a shoe called the Manual S after I'd hired him as a TM, global TM. But since he was an employee, he couldn't get royalties on the shoe. But John never thought about keeping the royalties and wanted to make a donation instead. He did this big project around that shoe and donated money to an Indian tribe in Arizona. I think it was the Navajo Nations. They were doing like a big skate park build. He volunteered some time to help out and teach kids how to skate. His approach to professional skateboarding and all those opportunities that come out of it, they weren't really there to benefit him. I feel like he looked at skateboarding as a way to contribute more so than to take. He's very much there for everyone, very selfless.
Yeah. Shout out to Jimmy. That means a lot. Yeah, I love Jimmy so much. Him and I had the pleasure of working together for about 4 years when I worked at DC, and before that, he was the team manager. And yeah, Jimmy has, in very many ways, influenced a lot of my decision making in life, especially working with DC and at DC. And specifically regarding the previous question, like coming back to the purity of skateboarding, community is a part of that purity.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had the opportunity to have a shoe on DC, a colorway, and develop a marketing campaign with DC. And the universe just kind of made everything happen quite perfectly. A good friend of mine, Sloan Powder, who co-owns Fifth Pocket Skate Parks in Philadelphia, was working on a skate park on Navajo Nation, the Dene Skate Garden Project, just north of Gallup, New Mexico, about 1 hour. And they had teamed up with Wonders Around the World. And I knew I wanted to do something for charity with the shoe. And I had always felt a kinship with the Navajo Nation and indigenous people and wanted to somehow support skateboarding in that region. And so Wonders Around the World, Fifth Pocket Skate Parks, For Kinship, which is an organization out there that makes clothing, indigenous clothing, as well as the Skate Park Project. It was kind of this, for lack of a better way of saying it, perfect storm. And, it was a great way to plug in funding because they were looking for funding for the skate park. And so it seemed like a no-brainer really to try and do something just to support this amazing project. And it really was an amazing project. They raised a bunch of money, and we got to build a skate park. I was there for the final days of the build, and skate park is, world class. It's a world class skate park in the middle of the res in Navajo Nation. And
amazing.
The skate park opening was a really powerful experience too. They had an official skate park opening in, I want to say 2023, with Tony Hawk and the Skate Park Project, as well as the president of Navajo Nation came out there. So
yeah, I remember seeing Instagram stories or posts about this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool. I'd never met Tony before, and just got to shake his hand and say thank you and just watch him skate in person, and that was so cool.
Yeah.
And the president of Navajo Nation actually used to be a skater back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think it was maybe Tony or somebody else brought him a skateboard, and he hopped on the board and board slid the flat bar. I was like,
amazing. Wow.
Amazed.
So cool.
Yeah. So shout out, shout out to DC, shout out to Jimmy Astleford, shout out to Michael Minter, who was the director of marketing, if I remember correct. They greenlighted all of this. I came with kind of a wild idea, and we just made it happen. We made it work, and it was one of the most meaningful things that I personally was a part of during my skateboard career.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Thanks for the question, Jimmy. Hey, and shout out Jimmy, number one. It'd be so cool to get Jimmy on a podcast such as this or a Nine Club. Jimmy has so much experience in the skateboard industry.
I'm sure. Yeah,
an incredible wealth of knowledge. And he stepped away from the skateboard industry to enter into a whole new industry, the mountain bike industry. And
that's right.
Anyone who knows Jimmy personally, he has accelerated his growth in, number one, becoming a skilled mountain biker. He's so good, but also he's I think really making a huge difference within that industry and bringing in some skateboard kind of marketing into that. And it shows with the company he works for now. He works for YT Mountain Bikes, and a bunch of skaters in that building. And I think they're making some splashes in the mountain bike industry. So check out their work. Yeah.
Okay, this next one is from Andy Enos.
Andy Enos, damn, Enos, man, you got all my friends here.
He said, ask John, so this is a kind of a funny, strange question. Ask John if he was married to himself, what personality traits, habits, or quirks would have the potential to cause a divorce?
Oh,
Throwing you under the bus again.
That's a great question, man. I love Andy so much. Little backstory on Andy. He was the resident photographer for our friend group growing up, and an amazing photographer, by the way. Shot strictly Hasselblad on film, had the whole Hasselblad fisheye. He was one of the only people in that area, aside from Xander Takamoto, I think that was, at least that I knew of personally, that was doing that. So shout out to him. And yeah, to answer his question, if I remember right, the question was, if I were married to myself, what would be the traits that would cause a divorce? Was that it?
Yes, basically, yeah. Traits, habits, or
man.
quirks.
Okay. Yeah, that's a heavy question, but a very important question. A very, very important question. I would say, yeah, habits, traits, and quirks. Number one, honesty. A lack of honesty. You know, I feel like one of the cornerstones to any good relationship. Just transparency and honesty and compassion. You know, we're not all perfect human beings. We all, I think, come to any relationship with aspects of us that are broken. And that can form into different habits and thought patterns that are at times destructive. And I think just a level of accountability is huge as well, because, you know, with anything that's great in life, there's collaboration, and relationship is collaboration. So being able to, number one, be accountable, number two, have honesty, throw in discernment in there, like knowing when to give and when to take, and when, just the balance of life. But also, I think something that is less often talked about is just your own personal sovereignty. That's a really important one. What I mean by that is, you know, I think often we rely too heavily on others for our own contentment and our own feelings of safety. And I think interdependence is really important, and codependence can be really dangerous. And they're very different, you know. In a relationship, you know, I'm not married yet, but at least from what I've seen, like the people who I admire who have long-standing relationships have a level of their own personal sovereignty and interdependence. So they can stand on their own, but, you know, they choose to be together and choose each other and grow with all of the foundational aspects of what makes a good relationship. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope I didn't go off on too much of a tangent, but I think that answers Andy's crazy question.
Yeah, it was a
Thanks,
pretty
Andy.
crazy question.
I love it, though. No, I'm happy we're talking like this. This is great. These are really great questions. Shout out to all the friends who have contributed.
Let's see. This next one is from Lauren Valls. She said, hi, John. What books are you currently reading or inspiring podcasts?
Yeah, great question. Lauren is a great human being. Shout out to Lauren. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Sunny.
Yep.
Yeah, I've created such a great bond and friendship with them over the last couple of years. Grateful to have them in my life. So to answer Lauren's question, I'm currently reading a book called The Courage to be Disliked. And the title speaks volumes. I mean, it's a great book. It's an interesting read because it's a dialogue between like a philosopher, like a master, and then a student. And the student is very stubborn and has all these questions and wants to, you know, prove the philosopher and the master wrong. But the master, like, you know, just speaks with practicality and talks about the suffering that we all experience in life and how often it's by our own hand. And so he does talk about, in a roundabout way, self-care and how sometimes it's important to put yourself first and not in a selfish way. And I think that's where the courage to be disliked comes into play. Having the courage to stand up for what you believe in, having the courage to set a boundary or embody your value system. So I'm reading that right now. I'm halfway through it, and it's real good.
And what about podcasts? Do you listen to podcasts at all, or?
Yeah. I just started listening to this podcast called The Diary of a CEO. And
oh, yeah. I think I heard about this, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this may be a controversial topic, but whatever. This is what I'm listening to right now.
That's fine, yeah.
But there's a sex expert that goes on this podcast. Her name escapes me. I wish I could tell you, but it was a recent episode, and this woman talks about monogamy versus polyamory, you know, the benefits of monogamy versus polyamory. But more importantly, she talks about casual sex. And in particular, like, you know, evolutionary biology. She talks about, it's super fascinating. She has a scientific background. I don't know much about her other than that. She has a graduate degree in anthropology, and it's just a really interesting listen. Especially, I think, for people my age and people who are younger who are trying to find their way through life. I think it's often trial and error, like in relationships, and finding out what relationship style is best for you, and ultimately like how to treat people with love and compassion and respect while you navigate those waters. So that's what I'm listening to right now.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's a good podcast. Diary of a CEO. He talks a lot about just business, but he also goes off into like other aspects of life.
What's the name of the author of the book you mentioned about being the courage of being disliked? Do you have it nearby?
I have it. Yeah, just give me 1 sec.
Yeah.
So the name of the author is Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga.
All right.
Yeah,
cool.
Really great book. The Courage to be Disliked.
All right. I have just a few more.
Cool.
Let's see.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yo, John, this is Brandon Turner, your boy. Chop, what's good?
Chop.
My question is, what inspires you to rid the things that don't serve you? Chop, yeah.
Cha. Shout out B Turner in the house. Yeah, no explanation on who Brandon Turner is. He's a legend in his own right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And great human who I've had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with. So what is my motivation for ridding myself of bad habits, right? Things that don't serve me?
Yeah, things that don't serve you, yeah. Thought that was a great question, yeah.
Yeah, truly. I think the short answer is like ridding yourself of bad habits and things that don't serve you. The benefit is a better life, a more sustainable life. You know, I can only speak for myself in anything that I'm talking about, but I noticed that when something is no longer like serving my highest and greatest good, you know, it has like a teeter-totter effect. It tends to dip down into the negative. And I mean, that can be anything. It can really be anything. And it can be vices that we have in life or thought patterns or even people. Yeah. And I think everyone has a lesson to share, whether good or bad, in relationship and interactions. And even some vices have their benefit as time goes on. Like maybe help to keep the fire burning. And then, you know, you have to feed the fire with some new kind of habits and new kind of wood. Yeah, I would say that's the best answer I got for you.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon.
Yeah. I was stoked to... Before I started doing this podcast, I was doing another podcast about addiction because I was an alcoholic for a long time until 2020, and I quit drinking in April of 2020. It's almost been 5 years now.
Congrats.
And I was working as a waiter in a wine bar, and I was drinking myself to death basically every day. And in 2020, I decided to quit drinking, and I started this first podcast about addiction. And the motivation was partly listening to the Nine Club at the time and listening to former pros or current pros like Brandon, who had been sober for a little bit, and listening to his story and other pros like him sharing about their story with addiction and sobriety really inspired me. And I really saw that, these guys are like, for me, the coolest dudes ever, and they're sober. Like, how can you be this incredible and be sober? Like, for me, being sober was because I was, with so many people that were drinking so much and everything, it was just impossible to imagine myself not drinking anymore. It was my work, it was my social life, it was everything. So without alcohol, it was like, who the fuck am I, And I actually did this first podcast, and I interviewed a few people about addiction and sobriety, and Brandon was one of them. He was kind enough to do an interview with me, and I was, super nervous and hadn't done interviews before and everything. And he was kind enough to jump on a Zoom call like we're doing now and to chat with me for like an hour and talk about his path with sobriety. And I'm so grateful because that kind of opened the door in my mind to, actually he's like accessible, that he's, for me, he's like this kind of godlike persona or something, and but he's actually a very nice guy, and I think he was just, just thought that I was trying to do something nice and wanted to contribute, and so yeah. Anyways, it's a trip for me to be able to talk to you today and to have people like him contributing questions and reflecting on where I was 5 years ago, and having him jump on this Zoom call for a question for you. It's just very humbling and very I'm just very grateful.
Yeah, it's a great honor for me too, man. Yeah, just circling back to Brandon. I mean, he's a great role model for so many people. And, it's just awesome that he exists. Like he's been through the trenches and has come out the other side, still whole. And I think that's a testament to like what we're capable of as humans. Like we can go through such hardship and immense pain and change and still come out the other side. And, you're a testament to that too. Congrats on your sobriety. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Brandon, for the question.
Yeah, shout out to B. Turner.
All right, let's do this one.
Hey John, this is Joel from Push to Heal. First, I just wanted to say thanks for all that you're doing to bring the topic of mental health forward in the skate community and in general. And from a question perspective, I'm curious if you intentionally skate differently, or maybe a better way of asking it is if you use particular elements of skateboarding more intentionally to support your mental health when you skate on days that you're stressed or anxious, like having a tougher day versus a calmer, better day overall. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, shout out Joel. Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's a great question, and one that I've been putting into practice quite often lately. Yeah, this one I think is a person-to-person type of answer, but I'll answer it from my perspective. Often when I've had tough days and then I go skate, it can be like a double-edged sword sometimes, because I'm taking out the feeling on my skateboard, and it can some days relieve the stress because physical exertion can really help.
Yep.
But then other days, particularly the more challenging days that I feel aggression or despair, you can almost harm yourself depending on how you're skating. And that's happened to me. You're feeling some type of way, you go to the park, you go to a spot, and you're pushing yourself. You're pushing yourself really hard. And maybe you're not as conscious of your body because you're just trying to escape the feeling. And I think that can be really dangerous. There's been times where I've gone to the park and I'm trying to go as fast as I can, or I'm trying to go as high as I can, or I'm trying to grind as far as I can. And while that can be exhilarating and it can certainly be fun, it can be really dangerous too. Gravity hurts. Concrete hurts.
Yeah.
And, sometimes like it snaps you out of it. You take a good slam and you're like, oh man, I feel alive, which is a whole nother conversation we can have.
Yeah.
But I think to answer Joel's question, some tools and techniques that I use personally to try and keep balance on my skateboard is just, before I even step on it, just checking in on where I'm at. Like, where am I? How am I feeling? What is my breathing like? What's my mental state like? And then just doing like a little bit of a grounding practice. There's a really great practice. It's called 5-4-3-2-1. And it's really simple. It's a tool for when things feel like too much. And you pick 5 things that you can see: a tree outside, your hands, coffee mug, anything around you. Then you pick 4 things that you can touch: fabric of your shirt, the ground beneath you, or your own heartbeat. Then 3 things that you can hear: a bird, a song, the hum of the fridge in the background. 2 things you can smell: coffee, the fresh air. And then 1 thing you can taste. Could be, a drink or anything.
Yeah.
And that's a really great practice just for coming back to the present moment. And you can use that anywhere. But I use it skateboarding. Like, before I step on my board, I'm like, let's make sure I'm taking good care of myself first.
This is amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in practice. Yeah, it seems
it's real easy,
simple, accessible, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I love that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you just implore all your senses. It's really a powerful practice, and then you can take that with you while you're skating, and it's really a wonderful practice because you're more conscious and present. You can show up for the feeling that's challenging rather than running away from it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel, for the question.
All right, let's see. Let's do this one.
John, hope all is well, my friend. I have a question for you. I was pretty lucky to go on trips with you and, spend time together at some events. And one trip that comes to mind when I think about our friendship is the tour of France, when we toured with DC and David, Manaud, and we went around a few cities in France where you gave beautiful presentations about mental health at different skate shops in front of different skate communities. And I was very impressed by, how you kept going. And I had a question. I've been, wondering, what keeps you going? What gives you happiness in what you do? What gives you the motivation to go from a place to another and do these presentations on mental health and stress reduction? So yeah, let us know. Thank you, John. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Léo. Yeah.
The great Léo
I love
Valls.
Léo. Yeah, Léo Valls in the house. Bordeaux is lucky to have him.
Yeah, the world is lucky to have him.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, the work he's doing in Bordeaux is definitely like rippling out into the world.
Yeah.
As shown by the Connect Festival this past October. So, yeah, to answer Leo's question, he's referring to a tour on 2023 that I took
Deep
with
Rest
DC
Tour,
Shoes.
right?
It's called the Deep Rest Tour, yeah.
Right.
And that was an amazing opportunity. We got to go to Bordeaux, Limoges, Paris, Lyon, Marseille, Barcelona, and London.
Right.
And at each stop, we did one big mental health presentation at the local skateboard shop. And yeah, I prepared a presentation for each stop, and each place that we went to was really special. Just gathering in a skate shop and talking about things you don't normally talk about in the skate shop that we're all going through. And so to answer Leo's question, the motivation for keeping going and what makes me happy, I'll say the first thing that came to mind when I heard his question was, I know that each and every one of us have something that someone else probably needs. And I know, looking back at my darkest times, the things that were most helpful to me was the support around me, and maybe words of wisdom, or even just someone holding space. Maybe they didn't even say anything to me, but just allowed me to vent. And for whatever reason, like I have an ability to listen, and I enjoy listening. And I also enjoy sharing. I'm more of a student, I think, than I am a teacher, but I do enjoy just teaching what I know. And that's all we can do, is teach what we know.
Yeah.
And so I think the motivation is that I feel like maybe something that I'm sharing might benefit someone in the way that it benefited me when I first heard it. And so I think it's our duty to really just continue to pass the torch. And so that's my motivation, just to continue to pass the torch and cultivate goodness in the world. Yeah.
These presentations that you gave when you were doing that tour, was that the one you gave in Bordeaux at Connect? Was it similar kind of to what you did over there, or was it completely different?
I created a new presentation for the one in Bordeaux. Okay. I wanted to focus more on practice at the one in Bordeaux. Just how can we activate our own skills of deep listening, and how does that apply to skateboarding? In the presentation on the Deep Rest Tour, I went deeper into the anatomy of breathing and the anatomy of, just what's happening in our body physiologically during sleep, during rest, during like physical activity. And, we got into suicide prevention and just things that can help you get out of a funk. Yeah. So that they had similar themes, but different content.
All right, let's do this one.
John, how's it going? John Rattray here. I do the Why So Sad project when I have time and energy. My question for you is, since 2017, 2018, I was being interested and pushing and doing this project. At first, I had to scramble around and look for information, and found some books here and there. And it feels like the amount of information out there has proliferated and blown up over the last few years to the point where it's overwhelming, and to the point of energy and time. My question to you is, how do you maintain the energy to keep going amidst all of the crazy amount of information that now exists? I hope you're very well. Thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, what an honor to have a question from John Rattray. I never met John. I hope to meet John one day. Yeah, a legend, and someone who I admire deeply for his work. So thank you, John, for all that you're doing. And thanks for the question. I think it's a very important question, because I think a lot of people in the mental health industry can get, I think it's called compassion fatigue. There might be another word for it as well. But specifically regarding all the information that's out there, it can be quite overwhelming. I mean, not even just information about mental health, but information about just life in general. Like, there is such an influx of content to digest and sort through and figure out what's true and what's not, and what's right and what's wrong. And I think he asks a really important question, because it involves a level of self-regulation that is often really hard for a lot of us. And so how do I do it is I make sure that I have a really good foundation of my own self-care. Like, I know the things that will keep me grounded, I have a meditation practice and a breathing practice that allows me to just come back to center. And the grounding practice that I shared with you is a really great way of tapping into just your senses in general, because the information that's out there can really bring us out of ourselves. And I feel like there's a balance, to consume and to have distance from. So it's an ongoing question, I think, or it's an ongoing answer to the question. And my best answer is I just make sure that I'm pausing when I feel fatigue. I'm pausing when I feel distress, and I'm listening intently and actively taking things off of my plate when I have too much. And that's a really challenging thing to do, because here in the West, we focus on optimization and doing as much as we can and trying to get to the destination as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And I think we've been sold a little bit of a lie. You go to different countries, the so-called lesser developed countries, and you see people who are with a significantly amount of less material objects and financial access, but they're happier. They have a level of joy that is contagious. And I think that speaks volumes, because I've been to some of these places and seen people who have way less than the vast majority of people here, but they seem to embody way more than a lot of us. And I think that's a clear sign that we need to come back to ourselves and really get back to our roots of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
And we really need to have discernment. That's what helps me. I think it's different for everybody, but that's what helps me.
Okay, let's do this one.
Hello, John. This is Kim and Raymond Turpin, and we are so excited to have you as an intern here at the Pearl, and just love everything that you're doing to make the world a better place. And our question for you is, what made you select the Pearl Institute for your internship? We're so lucky. Thanks.
Oh, I'm so lucky. That was Kim and Ray Turpin at the Pearl Institute. The place that I'm currently working as an intern therapist. And I'm so stoked to be there. They have such an amazing program, amazing team, amazing facility. And to give a little bit of a background on them, they are an outpatient mental health clinic that focuses on psychedelic-assisted therapy.
Yes.
Specifically ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. And they're a prestigious center, truly. For anyone that knows MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, they were, I believe, one of only 2 facilities in the entire country that were a host facility for the MDMA trials. And
oh, wow. Okay.
This is a very important and ongoing study using MDMA in psychotherapy, specifically for people who have post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
And the studies are incredible. The phase 3 clinical trials of these studies have incredible results, and the work that they did at the Pearl shows how beneficial this substance is for healing trauma. And
wow.
Unfortunately, it's illegal here in the United States. The FDA permitted a certain group of people and MAPS to conduct these trials, and they had a ruling in August that did not go through, unfortunately. But there is hope that this will one day be a healing modality that's more accessible to people. So with that being said, all that background is kind of how I found the Pearl. I went to the MAPS conference in Denver. They do one every single year in June, and they get together researchers in the psychedelic therapy world. And, you hear from the most prestigious people on the subjects, and they talk about their research and talk about the future of not only therapy, but psychedelic-assisted therapy. And so I met them there in 2023 and just felt a kinship and slowly moved to Asheville. And as soon as I went to their facility, it just felt like a warm hug when I walked in. And Kim and Raymond are incredible people who their work shows and shines through their personality. And anyone that knows them knows that. So with my graduate degree, with my graduate program, I need 2 internships and practicums to learn about therapy and just learn about the direction I want to go in social work. And so I was just lucky enough to have an opportunity to intern there. And so I'm there for the next 6 months, just learning about psychedelic assisted therapy, shadowing, ketamine assisted psychotherapy, as well as just learning from the incredible team that is the Pearl Institute. And for those of y'all that don't know the Pearl Institute, they will one day be a household name. They are incredible and really paving the way forward of what this new landscape looks like.
That's amazing.
So long story short, I feel like, it wasn't much of a choosing. It was like, it felt like I was like kind of chosen to, I don't know if that sounds weird to say it like that, but it just feels like we found each other.
It was meant to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering because, so I know you lived in Long Beach for a while when you were working for DC and, being pro and everything. And I was wondering if moving back to the East Coast had something to do with this internship. But that was, I know you moved back there a little bit before you actually started this internship, which was very recently, I believe. But what made you decide to move to the East Coast? When was that? Was that like a couple years ago maybe, or a year ago?
This was January 1st, 2024. Yeah.
Okay, so exactly, a year ago.
Yeah, this is a very recent, and it's a good question. I just felt like all signs were pointing towards the east, and so I just started inquiring about places that I might want to live towards the East Coast, and all of the signs were pointing to Asheville.
Okay.
And like that feeling of like a place choosing me, it was like there was this gravity.
Yeah,
and I was just really
kind of,
I was really curious. Like I just felt like this pull, and with any feeling like that, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, but if you go into it with all of your heart and mind like clear, then I just found myself here. So I feel very, very lucky. But yeah, it was just a gravity I felt and just followed that.
Yeah, it's funny that you felt this attraction to go there, and now you're doing this internship at this amazing place that happens to be there. It's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky, and it's quite an honor just to be involved with this institute and the work that they're doing. And my second internship will be a lot longer. It'll be about a year internship, and I'll be working at a hospice center called the Center for Conscious Living and Dying here in Asheville, and they are another place that is, in my opinion, revolutionizing hospice care and making it more human and in line with life. They're really helping people who are in their end of life to die with dignity and grace and love and respect and compassion. And it's unfortunate that that's not always the case.
Yeah.
But that'll be my second internship next year.
When will you start that one? In like a year from now, more or less, or?
Well, sooner than I thought. Fall of 25.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I know nothing about those fields that you're exploring now with these internships and this degree that you're doing, but it sounds super interesting, and I'm stoked to hear you're learning so much and apparently involved with really good people, and that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, thank you. I'm getting a lot of experience. It feels nice. I'm diving into a lot of things that are new, but diving into them with so much support and help and just really great people who have a lot of integrity and a good value system.
All right. This one is from David Manaud. He said, "Hey, John, I hope you're doing well, my friend. Here's my little surprise question for your interview. What do you think about ego in human beings today? Is it a strength or a weakness? Take care."
I think it's both. And to come back to the analogy of the fire burning, I heard a long time ago, and I've shared this with very many close friends, but I heard a long time ago that, these things can really help us in very many ways. And thinking about a fire burning, you have a giant pile of sticks and a giant pile of wood, and you have to keep that fire burning evenly. And so, the sticks and the firewood can represent like our ego or our vices that we have. And for a while, you may need that firewood right by your side. You may need that ego right by your side. But then at some point, the fire needs it. And you have to put it in the fire. Because if you don't, the fire will burn out. And I think that can be a double-edged sword, because sometimes we hold on to different aspects of ourself and our ego, and it can burn us. We get burned. But if we can give it to the fire, if we have the strength and the courage to give it to the fire, then I feel like we can burn evenly through life. So I hope that analogy is clear.
All right, let's do this one.
What's up, bro? It's Sergio. So my first question is, how you doing, bro? How you feeling? How's life treating you, bro? Like, I just want to know this. I saw you at the Connect event and, you know, it was a pleasure to meet you. It's always a pleasure to discuss, talk to you. You know, you have like a great energy, great mind, you know, it's always refreshing. So that was my first question, you know, just wanted to know, you know, how you feeling today. And the second one, you know, it's maybe a little bit more in the future. I wanted to know, you know, how you see yourself in maybe from now to 5 years or 10 years. Like, how would you see yourself, you know? See yourself like living somewhere, you know, doing all like different things, because I know you have like many talents. A lot of people know you as a skateboarder, but you have like many talents, bro. It's crazy. And the third one, you don't have to answer to this, and I will respect, you know, your decision if you choose to don't answer to that. But do you have a lady? And if yes, are you planning to get some kids, you know, or one, or just one? Because I know, you know, with your energy, your presence, man, you can just like, you know, you will be amazing as a dad. So I just wanted to know that. And just all my greetings, much love, bro. Salutations to your family also. And keep doing the good work. Keep working hard. Like I know that shit's gonna pay off. Much love, bro. And thank you for everything. Peace.
Peace. Sergio. Yeah, wow, what a question.
Lengthy but interesting question.
Yeah, no, this is great. I love Sergio so much. Sergio is an amazing skateboarder in Bordeaux. Great tattoo artist.
Great energy himself.
Yeah, great energy.
Yeah.
We spent a decent amount of time together. He was on the Deep Rest tour as well. And,
right, yeah.
Quality human being. So thank you, Sergio, for all the questions. I'll start at the beginning. How am I feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. I feel more grounded than I ever have in my life, and feel really aligned with where I'm going and my purpose. And yeah, I just feel healthy. I feel healthy and didn't realize how unhealthy I felt. So that feels really nice. And where I'm going specifically, I would just like to continue with school and get my license as a clinical social worker so that I can maybe one day open up my own practice, but at the very least just continue to do community-based events and continue to grow the business that I started regarding community-based events. It's called Nothing But Today. Just want to continue to learn about myself. And I feel like that will bring me to where I'm meant to be. I don't currently have a partner to answer his last question.
Last question, yeah.
Yeah, but I do envision a future where, you know, I have a partner that we have a strong bond and, you know, we're helping each other to grow. And if that leads into having a family, you know, I would think I would love that. I would like to, before any of that, just to continue to build my own life and settle into my own personal sovereignty so that I can, you know, be the best father to a child if that's, you know, the life path that I so choose. I just really want to make sure that I got everything in check internally and externally so that I could, if I decide to bring someone into the world, I could see that. But we'll see. Life is unfolding before my eyes and I'm just trying to stay present with it all. Thank you, Sergio, for the question. Always deep and insightful conversations with Sergio. And looking forward to the next time we can hang out.
Okay, let's wrap it up with this last question from Wes Kremer.
Wow.
Legend. So stoked to get a question from him. So it's two very simple questions. First one is, how rad are ya? And he said he'll know. So do you care to
elaborate? Okay, yeah. So likely the way that he's asking me the question is this: how rad are you? And this is just a great saying that I hear from Wes quite constantly. And he's full of amazing quotable quotes. Anyone that knows him can attest to that. So yeah, how rad are you? How you feeling?
And the second question is, what do you think the world needs? It's kind of more philosophical there. So, yeah.
Yeah. What do I think the world needs? I think the world needs more understanding and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And kindness. But that being said, I think those are skills that are built. Compassion and kindness. You know, it can be kind of like a buzzword nowadays. Like, we need more compassion. We need more kindness. We need more happiness. We need more. But how? Like, how do we get there? Like, sure, we need that. But how? And I think, you know, I was thinking about this today, actually, before our conversation. And I was looking at the water coming out of the shower. And when you see the water coming out of the shower, you're just seeing the water. But often you're not really thinking about where that water comes from. Right. You know, that water is going through pipes. It's going underneath the ground. It's going through a water heater. That water heater is connected to more pipes. That's connected to like discharge from city water or well. And then that's connected to so many other things. That goes to a river or to an aquifer or to a lake. Mm-hmm. And it really got me thinking, like, that's kind of how we should meet people. That's how we should approach people. Because often we just see the water coming out of the faucet. We just see the person that's standing in front of us. But that person has such an intricate system of memories and experiences that have brought them to where you are. Yeah. And so they may not present to you as like the best person when you first meet them. You may not even like them. And they may not even like themselves. They may be a very unpleasant person to be around. But I think if we can start to just focus and zoom out on every person has an origin. And every person once had the eyes of a child, you know? Yeah. Every single person once had the eyes of a child. And if we can just at least expand our ability to see that, you know, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I still get mad. I still like act a fool sometimes. But I feel like I'm now more able to zoom out a little bit and consider that, okay, even though I think that person's an asshole, like I know that they once had the eyes of a child. Yeah. And their whole life experience has brought them to who they are, for better or for worse. And I think just that thought allows me to soften my own bullshit so that I can meet them with more kindness and more compassion.
More compassion, yeah.
So that's the long answer. Yeah. It's important, I think, to have like goals, but like how do you get to those goals? And I think it just takes a tremendous amount of practice over time.
Yeah, that's a great way to great thoughts to end on, I guess, or food for thought. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Quentin. I appreciate you
likewise,
inviting me on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really, really honored that you accepted to do this interview. And really glad again to have met you in person in Bordeaux, even though it was very quick. But and hopefully we'll get to hang out again soon, sometime, somewhere. But thank you for your time, John.
I appreciate that, man. I hope to meet in person before too long. It was great to meet you.
That's it for my conversation with John. Follow him on Instagram at John Gardner, that's JAWN Gardner. Make sure to also follow his other account, Nothing But Today, at nothing.but.today. Treat yourself to some of his video parts and keep an eye out for his upcoming projects. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon for a new episode of Beyond Boards.